Guys, Scott here with Go-Kart Masters Academy. Today we're going to be putting together a 200 XRS.
Welcome to Go-Kart Masters Academy. In this video, we'll be going over how to assemble your Trailmaster 200 go-kart. This video works for a 200 XRS or a 200 XRX. Whether you already have your 200 go-kart or you're looking to see if you can handle assembling one once you buy it, join us today as we put this kart together.
And this is going to be the same procedure with a 200 XRX minus the light bar and a couple of little extra features.
Before we get started, let's go over quickly the tool list that you'll need. You will need a metric wrench set with 8mm through 19mm size. You need a 3/8" drive socket set with either an impact gun or a ratchet wrench. You'll need a pair of pliers, a pair of side cutters, a medium-sized Phillips head screwdriver to install the battery bolts, a 1/2" drive 22mm socket, and a ratchet or impact to go with that, and you'll need your air compressor. There are a few tools that you will need that if you purchased your go-kart from gokartmasters.com, you will receive in your welcome kit. But if you purchased elsewhere, you will need to get a low pressure tire gauge. Usually these only go up to about 20 psi. You'll need a valve stem tool. You'll need a keychain for your spare key. Of course, that's optional, but we do highly recommend securing the additional key on a keychain just in case you lose the first one. We'll send stickers to enhance your kart. You don't need these either, but they're fun. And then if you did purchase from us, you'll also get a printed copy of this assembly guide with step-by-step instructions. Other supplies include a quart of 10W30 small engine oil. We recommend your favorite synthetic. You'll need some premium gasoline. Of course, ethanol-free is the best. You'll need a couple of jack stands if you don't have any sort of lift or tractor to get it up off the ground. And then optionally, you can have some electrical tape to tape on the pads to the frame. You'll need some drill bits. That's on a rare occasion you have to drill holes out to get the holes to line up on the frame. And a rubber mallet, sometimes you have to give it a little bit of extra force to get everything to line up. But those things usually aren't needed, and like I said, they're optional. So let's jump in and get started.
All right, guys, so first off, when you get your cart, the cardboard is already off of ours right now. And it's pretty normal for your cardboard on the outside of the cage to be ripped up or maybe even missing a couple pieces. That's pretty normal. When you get your cart, it's going to be like it is right here in the cart, or in the crate rather, about 80% assembled. And there is cardboard that's on here, and it should be wrapped in plastic, and it's pretty normal for there to be a little bit of paint rubbed off here and there, as it's, of course, it's shipped from China. Those things are normal. Should not be missing any parts. Should not be any damaged. Every once in a while, we'll get a 200 XRX, and the dash, this model does not have the dash, but the dash, it sits pretty close to here. Every once in a while, we'll get one where the dash is busted up on it. And if that's the case, let us know immediately, and we can get a new dash shipped out to you. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the top of the crate, and all around the cart, you have these 10mm bolts that are all around the crate there. And we want to take all of those off all the way around the outside of the crate. And then we're gonna take out everything that is in the cart, we're gonna take out. So a lot of things will be zip tied on with these zip ties around the frame. And you're gonna take all of those pieces out, everything that's sitting in the middle of the cart here where the seats are out. You're gonna remove everything that you can from the cart.
In this next clip, Samson, our shop dog, was whining and having a fit, so I'm going to do a quick voiceover to tell you all the parts that you should be expecting. Okay, so once you have unpacked everything, let's go ahead and take a look at all your parts. The first thing I want you to notice is that all of the tires are directional. You see that there's a V shape in the tread, and that V shape always points the direction that the tire will be going. Here's the rear tires. They've got that same V shape. So we should have 2 front tires, 2 rear tires. You'll see your front fenders. Those have 3 bolts on them. This H-bar that goes over the top of your cart. Your 2 main roll cage bars. Then your short bars, you've got one crossbar, two side bars, and these two small cargo rack supports. You'll have one rear shock, two large rear fenders with 4 bolts in them. Actually, these have 3 bolts in them. You'll have your fuel tank with a hose and an electrical line coming out of it, and your cargo rack. Okay, in this first hardware bag with all of the wheel hardware, we have 2 rear axle castle nuts with their washers, the 2 lower spindle nuts that attach the spindle to the A-arm with their washers, 8 lug nuts. These are nylon lock nuts, a set of 2 keys. Then we'll have a steering wheel, a canopy top, a set of mirrors. You'll have 4 hubcaps, a steering wheel cover, and the stuff to attach your flag. Your battery accessories, which is a cover, a cushion, and a strap. And then you will have all of the bar bolts, chrome washers, and cotter pins that hold all of your frame pieces together. You'll have a brand new battery in a box, comes with the battery bolts. You will get your certificate of origin. This acts as a title in places where you need to register your vehicle. And you will get your owner's manual for your go-kart.
All right, guys, the first thing you want to do in putting together this cart as we start assembling things here is to grab your rear rack, and we're going to mount the rear rack to the frame of the go-kart. If you try to do this later, it's not going to work, as your main bars will go into this rack here, so you have to mount this rear rack first. And so the rear rack goes in both these holes that are sitting right here. It's going to be a lot easier if you have 2 people to hold, one person to hold this and the other person to screw the screws in here. So you're going to get one of your bar screws and one of your washers, and all right, you're going to get one of your bar screws here and one of your cupped washers, and the cupped washers always cup towards the frame. So if you were to put it on backwards here, it would not be correct, as the flat part does not need to go against the frame. The cup side always goes against the frame. And you want to be careful, and you want to thread both of these bar bolts in before tightening them down. Lead up. Once you get the second one started there, you can go ahead and tighten them down. Sometimes these black caps right here on both sides might be twisted, and if they are, you can just grab them with your hand and twist them. That way they're cupped around the frame. All right, next you want to grab 4 of these 8mm bolts here. You're going to have some that are short. These are the shorter ones, and you're going to have some that's just a little bit longer. You want these short ones, and then 4 of the nuts that go on it. And these are your rack supports. So next we're going to be installing our rack supports. Go on the bottom side of this rack, and one will go in this hole that's up here on one side of it. And the next one will go on the, this one's red here, so it'll go on this red hook here. And we'll put them on just like that, with the flat part to the inside. Now that's not going to make a whole lot of difference if you go on the inside or outside. But as long as they're the same on both sides. You got one on this side, and you also got one on the other side of the cart there. And we'll go ahead and tighten all 4 of those down.
Okay, next we're going to install the main roll cage bars. You want to find the hub on the rear cargo rack to put the back side of the bar in, and then on the front end of the cart you'll see another hub. You're going to line that bar up. Sometimes it won't go quite right. It's okay to give it a little shove. You're not going to bend the bar. It just takes a little bit of extra pressure to get it lined up exactly right. You may even have to stick a bolt through one end of it to get it lined up right without popping off.
All right, we'll go ahead and put the bolts in these right here. And 2 of these cupped washers, and then 1 nut. Can you see both sides of it? Mm-hmm. All right, guys, whenever you put these bolts in, you want to make sure that, again, these cupped washers, the cup piece of it is going towards the bar as it's being cupped around the bar there. So you got your bolt, a cupped washer on the other side, and then your nut. All right, after you get all the bar bolts in the main pieces of the bar, you're going to grab your sidebars here, and your sidebars are on the obviously the side over here. Stick your sidebars in, and you're going to go ahead and run 1 bolt on both sides of those. And again, if these plastic cupped pieces here are turned like that one is, you can grab them with your hand and twist them and get them lined up to get them cupped with the bar. And then the side bars are going to go in the bottom hole. All of these bars, the next bars that we're putting on, including the side bars here where they screw into the main part of the bar here, there's threads inside. There's a nut that's welded inside of each of these bars. So these side bars here and the rest of the bars that we're putting on, there is a nut. So it's very important that when you screw the screw into these bar pieces that we're about to do next, that you don't strip them out. And you can't just take the nut out. You'll have to buy a new bar piece if you strip this piece out. That's the nut that's in here. And so make it important to make sure you thread all these next screws in with the bar by hand, or not with an impact, but make sure they're threaded in before you go and tighten them down. Put on is this H bar here that goes on the top. Again, it's going to go in the 4 holes that are left on the top of the 2 main bars. And again, if you need to turn these plastic cups in order to get them lined up, then you can do so beforehand, or you can do it as you put it on. And you're going to grab 4 of your bar bolts, again with your cupped washers on the outside of this. And this is always easier with 2 people putting this one on here.
You're going to watch us struggle here for a few seconds as I try to film this tutorial and help Scott, and you'll see that we quickly give up, proving the point that you probably just need a second person to help you get this part installed.
Mounted up here, and again, it's going to be easier if you got 2 people to help you do this and to hold it. Oftentimes, these bars, you'll have to push the bars in, the main bars here, to get them close enough to screw in here. And that's normal. The last bar piece that we're going to do is this short bar in the back. It is a support bar that goes between just above the gas tank back here in the back here. So again, you want to line your plastic cups up here. All right, after you get that last bar there, just finger tight in, you're going to want to go back and tighten all of the bar bolts that you just put in, whether you're doing that with an impact or just a wrench. You're going to need a 10 millimeter socket and either a 12 millimeter socket or a 12 millimeter wrench, and to tighten all of them up. When you get to the ones that are mounted up just with the bolt and through the bar with the plastic cup, make sure you don't over tighten them or it will bust those cups there.
While you watch Scott go around and tighten everything up on this cart, I want to just remind you, if you purchased your go-kart from us at go-kartmasters.com, you also received a welcome kit and a free master warranty. This master warranty gives you 12 months coverage, bumper to bumper, on any manufacturer's defect. It also includes shipping damages and lost parts. So if at any point in this assembly process you can't find the parts that you need, or something is damaged, or you need technical support, just give us a call, let us know your order number so we can make sure we know we're talking about the correct model cart, and we will get you going, and we will get parts shipped out completely free of charge as soon as possible.
We get all of the bar bolts tight. The next thing we want to do is we want to take the support, the crate support, off of the rear axle where it's mounted down to. It's just a 10mm bolt there. And then we're going to want to put one shock on, and in order to do this, you need somebody to lift up on the back rack as one person puts the shock bolt in. Before we put the shock bolt in the other side, you're going to have to take this support out. This is the shock for the passenger side. You're going to have someone, again, pick up on the rack and pull these two bolts out here and pull the support out. Yep. Save these two bolts here, as these are actually your shock bolts. So we got the support bar out of your passenger side here for the shock, and we also already put the other shock in, the bolt in on the bottom side of the other shock. And so now we're going to put the passenger shock on. And again, those same two bolts that you pulled out of that support is what you're going to want to use to put this back together with. And if you see how off it is here from hitting the support, again, you'll have to have somebody pick up on the rear rack of the cart in order for this to line up.
Pay close attention here to the direction of this shock. You'll see that the coils are on the top end, and the lower part of the shock does not have coils wrapped around it. That part that is just the shaft goes towards the bottom. Make sure you don't install this upside down. And you'll see how easy it is when Scott lifts up on the rear end of the cart. That shock slides into place, and I can easily insert
so we
the bolt.
got it in there. We had to use two hands, so couldn't video it. But he picked up on the rear and got the bolt through the bottom of it there. And then we'll put our nuts on here. These should be a 14mm socket or wrench on top and bottom. And we'll go ahead and tighten these down. All right, once you got your rear rack on, we got all of our bars on and tight. And then we just installed our shocks as well. The next thing you're going to do is lift the cart up. Now, for us, we have a tractor with some forks on it. If you got a tractor, a skid steer, or a forklift, and you're able to lift up on the bars, it's going to be a lot easier. But if you don't have that, I would recommend getting some jack stands, and you'll have to have two people to lift the rear of the cart up and put the jack stands underneath the axle of the cart. And so you're going to want to do that and put the rear tires on, and then of course you're going to want to do the same thing up front as we put the front together, the front wheels and the spindles together. And but for the sake of the video, so we can make sure that you can see everything that we're doing, we are going to go ahead and lift the cart up with our tractor.
A quick tip here is to put a piece of the cardboard between your forks and the cage so that you don't scratch off any of the paint, and then go ahead and pull that crate out of the way so you don't trip on it.
Lift it up with our forks here. We're going to do several things. If you don't have a lift like we do, it's going to be a lot easier for you if you go ahead and put the front wheels and the rear wheels on. But for the sake of the video, and since it's easier for us to access the battery and the fenders before we put the tires on, we're going to go ahead and do that now. So first off, we're going to go ahead and put the battery in, and then we will put the fenders on and then the rear tires. Our battery, which comes with the battery bolts there, and sometimes these batteries are different. It may have a different post on here. But grab your battery and your battery bolts, and you also got three things here. You got your battery strap, you got your battery cushion, and the battery top. We don't usually use the battery top. We usually like to leave it off so we can put a battery maintainer on there very quickly. And so if you want to do this, you would put this on before the battery strap, and but we're going to leave the cover off. Battery cushion goes in the bottom of the battery tray, and then your battery will sit down in the battery tray there. You're going to have two wires that are on the back side of the cart here near the battery, a red wire and a black wire. The red wire is going to be your positive wire on the battery. Of course, your black wire is going to be the negative wire on the battery. And so we're going to hook the positive wire up first and get it tight, and then we're going to hook the negative battery cable up and then get it tight as well. Once you have your battery cables tightened down, there is this battery strap, and on both sides of the battery there is a little tab there that the battery strap will hook into. And this is important that you put this on and it holds your battery in place.
Let's go ahead and grab your rear fenders, and keep in mind these are directional, so make sure that you find the one that when it's installed over the rear swing arm here, it points towards the back of the cart and is situated over the rear tire. You want to pull the bolt out, find this hole in the swing arm, line this clamp up over the frame, and then go ahead and tighten this bolt down. Do that on both sides.
All right, guys, next we're going to put our rear tires on, and just as a tip before you do so, you're going to want to tighten the valve stem cores down. When these tires are shipped, they are deflated and your valve stem core is out. So it's this little piece inside of the valve stem here that you can't see. This is the valve stem core here, and they are loose whenever they're shipped. And so if you buy this cart from us, you're going to get one of these valve stem tools in your welcome kit. So tighten the valve stem core down. It's got a little notch on the inside of it here where you can tighten it down. Air these tires up to about 10 psi, between 8 and 10 psi. Well, on these rear tires, they are splines. So there's splines inside of the rear hub, and there's also, the axle is also splined. And so just make sure that the splines, when you go to put it on, you just rotate a little bit and the splines will line up and you'll be able to push it right on. Wheel set on there, you're going to grab your bigger castle nut and also this big washer, and the washer is going to go on first. The castle nut is going to go on, and after you tighten the castle nut down, the cotter pin is going to go through the hole in the axle, but you need to tighten it down in a way that the holes in the castle nut line up with a hole in the axle. Just take the bigger of the cotter pins through it, and these cotter pins, if you notice, it's shorter on one side and longer on the other. And so the longer side, you want it facing out towards you, and you can take the longer side and bend it up. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut off the bottom of it and cut off the excess up here with a pair of side cutters. All right, then we're going to grab our hubcaps. You got 4 of these hubcaps, and the hubcap, you'll have to, as you push it on, it'll rotate around that washer, and it'll sit inside of the rubber here. All right, that's one complete wheel, and so we'll do the exact same process on the other side.
At this point, it was later in the day. You can see the long shadows in the video, and we started to lose sunlight. So for the rest of this tutorial, Scott is going to do the work, and I'm just going to give you a quick voiceover so that he could get as much of the filming done as possible before it got dark. So on your front end, you're going to remove a shock bolt. It's going to be in the lower A-arm. Then you're going to lift that lower A-arm up, line it up with the shock, and put your bottom bolt through. Go ahead and tighten that down. Be careful not to strip these out. Alright, do that on both sides of the front end of your cart so that both of your shocks are installed. And then we're going to look at how to line these spindles up and get your lower spindle nut put in. So you'll see here that Scott has lined the spindle up with the hole in the A-arm. And you'll see on the threaded part of the spindle, there's a square shoulder. There's a washer and a rubber boot that fits up over that square shoulder. And then that square shoulder is going to fit down into this square hole in the A-arm. Then you'll want to install your washer and your castle nut. Tighten that down until the hole lines up where you can get a cotter pin through. And you will follow the same process with this cotter pin where you insert it into the nut with the longer side facing out, and then bend the longer side over the end of the nut and trim the excess. Alright, our next step is to install our front fenders. You will need 2 fender bracket bolts, 2 split washers, and they're going to attach to the holes on the side of your spindle. And you want to make sure that the fenders are pointed towards the back of the cart. These are directional, so you'll have one left and one right. And tighten those down. You definitely have to do this before you put the tires on, because once this front tire is on, you can't get any sort of tools back here to tighten these bolts down. Then repeat that on the other side, get both of your fenders on and tightened up, and then we're ready for the next step. Now we're ready to install the front tires, and pay close attention to these. Remember, they are directional. So you see this V-shaped tread, it needs to point towards the front of the cart, while the valve stem is on the outside where you can access it. So determine your left and your right, line up the studs, and put your lug nuts on. Be sure as you tighten these lug nuts that you tighten the first one and then go directly across rather than going around in a circle as you tighten, just to make sure that these get tightened down evenly. And make sure that this fully seats around the hub so that your tire is not wobbly. Install the hubcap over the center of the hub. And repeat this entire process on the other front tire as well. Now find your steering wheel and your 3 steering wheel bolts and nuts. You want to make sure that your tires are pointed straight ahead, and line your steering wheel up where the center arm is pointed straight down. You want to make sure that you put this on straight in the correct direction so that your steering wheel is not out of balance. So you'll put these 3 bolts on, put the nuts on the back side, and then find the plastic cover for the center of the steering wheel. Hook the bottom hook through the hole, and then gently push up and towards the steering wheel to snap it into place. Almost finished. This go-kart is almost completely assembled. We just have a few last things to do. So on the back side, you want to find on the top of your engine this loose wire that's not plugged into anything, and then find the pigtail that comes off of your tail light and runs down through the cargo rack, and go ahead and connect those two. And you can wrap these wires around the cargo rack however you need to make sure that these wires don't flop around. And you just want to make sure that it doesn't hang down or get in the way of anything. And then I want you to find your fuel tank, and we'll go ahead and we'll get that fuel tank installed on the top of the cargo rack. So set your fuel tank down in the space on top of the cargo rack, and you'll see that one edge of the tank has a curved edge, and the place where it sets down in also has a curved edge. And you'll see that the fuel cap is going to go on the passenger side of the cart. And then with your 4 bolts and nuts, you want to connect this fuel tank to the frame of the cargo rack. Tighten those down really well. And then we need to connect the fuel pump, the fuel line, and the carbon containment box. All right, go back to the underside of your gas tank, and you want to find this fuel line with the special fitting on it, and then locate the fuel injector on the top side of the engine. And there's only one nipple on the top side of this fuel injector where that will clamp down on. So go ahead and install that, push it in until you hear it click. Now we want to make sure that we have power going to the fuel pump. So find this long electrical wire that hangs off. It's got a little red cap on the end of the plug. And I'm trying to get a good angle here so you can see where we plug it in. You'll see that this plug clips on to the side of the fuel pump here. Look up at the top of your fuel tank and find this vent line. You want to follow that vent line down behind the seats along the frame, and behind the passenger seat, you will see this carbon containment box connected to the frame. And your fuel line will only fit on one of these nipples. You'll see the other side is larger. And you just want to slide that up on there and use this clamp to tighten it down. At this point, if you did not already install your battery at the same time that we did, then you can go ahead and let your cart down off of the jack stands. And then it's easy to access the battery if you sit in the driver's seat and move the back of the seat out of the way. You can see that we already installed it here just because it was easier for us to access with the cart up on the lift. So next we want to install the rear portion of each seat, and you'll see on the bottom they have these tubes. These tubes are slightly larger than the tubes on the frame, and so you can just line those up and slide them over. It will be much easier if you go ahead and pull the seat belts all the way through, because the clips make it a little bit hard to get through those holes if you don't pull them through first. You see that Scott slid the driver's seat forward here, but the passenger seat does not slide. And the last two things are just some cosmetics. We want to install the canopy top and the side view mirrors. So you'll see that this canopy top has one end with this sort of triangular piece sticking out. And if you look at the top of the frame on the front end of the H bar, there's that same triangular piece. So you want to wrap that front end around the piece of the frame that matches. Scott's making sure that you know the right shape of the canopy top. So just match up that shape, slide the edge up over that, and then there are Velcro straps all along the underside. Scott usually attaches the back side first that goes across that crossbar because it keeps it in place while you do up the other Velcro straps. And I'll try to get you some views underneath. You see, if you'll place your hand on top of it, you can easily press the two sides of Velcro together. And once you get this back one in, it's a lot easier to get all of the other Velcro done up. So you just want to go around and make sure that's all secured, everything's in place. We do recommend, if you're going to put this cart on a trailer and haul it anywhere, go ahead and take this cargo top off, because it'll hold up to the 20 to 30 miles an hour of the cart driving, but it will not hold up to 80 miles an hour on the interstate. So just pull that off, stick it in the glove box, and you can reinstall it when you get to where you're going. You see that there's several other straps that wrap around the roll cage bars all the way around, and you'll have your canopy top secured.
All right, now you're going to grab your rear view, your side view mirror, and one of the nuts is the same nut as your lug nuts on the front wheel here. And the side view mirrors go in these holes, either one of these holes that are up on the front here, and then you would tighten that nut down there. You can also tighten your jam nut down here on the other side first, and then get your impact or your wrench and tighten that. And it is adjustable, so you can move it and adjust it and adjust it here as they will move.
And that's it. You've got your go-kart completely assembled. So I hope you're excited. But before you go out for your first ride, please stay tuned for the next few minutes. We're going to go over the last few steps of how to check your oil, how to get everything ready for the first start, and how to perform your first start to make sure that everything goes smoothly. So stay tuned, take these extra few minutes just to make sure you've got all the instructions correct, and let us help you get started with success.
Before we crank up the go-kart, we still need to add gas. We still need to pump our tires up here, but we still need to add gas and check the oil. The oil dipstick is going to be on the passenger side of the go-kart on the rear of the motor. All right, so pull your dipstick out. It's going to unscrew. Once you pull your dipstick out, you want to wipe it off. And whenever you check the oil, you don't want to screw it back in, but you want to set it down on the threads and then pull it back off and see where the oil is. And the oil needs to be up here on the top of these X marks. So this one's a little low in oil, and so we're going to add some oil to it.
You'll see here that Scott just gently sets this dipstick on top of the threads and does not screw it in. You need to do this to get a proper reading. And then you'll see as he pulls it out, he's careful not to hit the sides. All right, so we're all the way on the top of our X's there, as you can see.
and so the oil is at the level that it should be.
Now, when you add fuel to your tank, take extra precautions not to get any dirt or debris down inside the tank, as this will lead to fuel issues in the future. Keep everything neat and clean, and then install your fuel cap back on your fuel tank.
All right, to be able to start this cart, you do have to have the key to the on position, and you got to hold down the brake pedal. And once you hold down the brake pedal, you'll be able to turn the key switch, and it should turn over and try to start. Now, being that the cart is new, it may have to turn over a few seconds before it actually fires up, especially if you have a carbureted cart. You may have to manually choke it. Most things today are EFI, but turn the key switch on, put your foot on the brake, and then turn the key switch to the start position. You do want to let the cart warm up for 5 or 10 minutes for the first time before you drive it, to let the fuel system prime itself, and just to make sure everything's running the way it should.
Congratulations, your 200 go-kart is ready to go. Make sure you buckle up all the seat belts that are not in use so they don't drag the ground. Make sure all the bolts are tightened up, and get on and give it a whirl. You're going to enjoy all the power, speed, and even turning some donuts on your new go-kart. Leave us a comment below where you got your go-kart and if this video helped. Thank you for watching Go-Kart Masters Academy.